What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Let's Play Hiveswap Friendsim for the third time. My third playthrough of Hiveswap Friendsim, in which instead of playing by myself or sending photos to a friend of mine, I'm making a commentary YouTube series out of it. Because Hiveswap Act 2 is out. I'm like halfway done with playing it. I'm not going to spoil anything. For those in the future who may be watching this video without playing Act 2. But potential spoiler warning for the rest of this game: Pesterquest, Homestuck proper, Act 1 of Hiveswap, maybe. Some Homestuck fanfics. Don't worry, there will be no spoilers either for the epilogues or Homestuck 2. I don't engage with those, and I pretend they don't exist. Character voices may be inconsistent, although today we are making friends with a small clown who only says honk. So, you know what? Who knows how that's gonna go? Will there be a guest appearance this time? Probably not. My cat is sleeping in the outside. This is a dark world. Both because it's night and because of the brutal struggle for survival among its polyhumocratic inhabitants, many of whom seem to thrive on havoc and carnage. You'd be interested to see the Michelin Guide entry for Alternia. You're convinced that after a day here, Ayn Rand would sign up for the Little Sisters of the Poor, Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun would join the Quakers, and Adolf Hitler would seek membership in the World Peace Council. Goodwin's Law alert. Feel like a little dramatic tonight. Last time we made friends with Marcy, one of the coolest bitches in this game, and today it's the smallest clown in the game, Mr. Karako. Because I want to pick him up. And you can, and you do, I'm pretty sure. You would just Also, fun fact, I am recording this, as you may notice, if you look down in the corner of the screen, because I just record my whole last screen instead of just the game. It is Black Friday. I do have to go to work in 2.5 hours. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't know how busy it's going to be, because honestly the store should be closed, but it's not. So we will find out, won't we? Don't mind me scrolling through things. Alright, there we go. Having learned the dangers of using public thoroughfares, you've taken to dodging down byways and skulking in rear areas, trying to spy out individuals who look ripe for friendship while avoiding the more criminally insane denizens. Bad word. Just now, you're following a winding footpath through the undergrowth surrounding a neighborhood where the local hives are spaced far apart. You came creeping along this footpath for safety. You should have known better. The undergrowth here is like most of the other life forms in Alternia, evolved to ruthlessly purge the gene pool of the weak and the reasonable. Coiled with spring-loaded stalks with foot-long thorns flank wreathing bushes with razor sharp. There should be a comma there, I think. With razor edge leaves, which in turn crown tentacle flora with toothed lobes oozing liquid that hisses and smokes when it touches the ground. Extreme caution is needed, just as it's needed in every circumstance on this planet. While your time in Alternia has gotten you accustomed to injuries, you still shrink from being impaled on sprung thorns and dissolved in acid. Acid is one of the one of the things you can't really defend against acid. Once it gets to you, it's over. You should have known that eventually you would have to come up against the local flora. So you proceed discreetly, avoiding poison fronds and trying not to step on trigger roots. But suddenly your vegetative focus is interrupted. You hear footsteps on the path, and then around the corner comes a small figure. The most adorable clown this side of Homestuck. And actually, as the wiki pointed out, his horns are painted, and I wonder if that's because he has a weird coloring mutation, because I feel like, obviously Bradia takes care of him, and I gotta wonder, if it's because, like, his horn coloring is weird, so she just disguises it with the clown paint. Also, he has a little gold tooth. Yeah, let's turn up the music for a second, just to enjoy this track. Stopping in to say that this didn't work, so I cut out a bunch of the video. Anyway, bye. Its face and horns are painted with smudged black and white marks. Despite its diminutive physique, it has some of the most impressive horns you've seen on any troll. What are those? Then the small figure sees you too, and is so they went away, and is so startled it jumps a foot, impaling its horns in an overhanging tree branch and sticking there, so that its small legs pump helplessly in the air. Honk! You beg the small person's pardon, and assure him that you were fully as startled as he. You go on to explain that you were not dangerous, but that even if you were, you would not want to come to strife with even a small person with horns of that size. Kahoot's horns were way bigger than that. I don't know. Honk? Yes, you will be happy to help him down as long as he promises not to attack you with the many-bladed weapons that are stuffed in his belt or with the dozen cans of inexpensive soft drink held in bandoliers crossing his chest. Fun fact, I still haven't finished that Faygo. Speaking of Kahoot, it's still in my car. It haunts me. I've done multiple car cleanouts. I could have thrown it away, but it's still there. It strikes you suddenly that a neighborly gesture, like helping someone whose horns are stuck in a tree branch, can scarcely fail to kindle the light of friendship. You dare to hope that this will be the case now. Edging forward, you get close enough to see that around the small clown's neck handles a dog tag or ID necklace. You tilt your head and crane your neck to read the writing on it. Karako period. If lost, call Branya Ursama. Suddenly, this all makes sense. This Karako period must have been one of Bronda's reject runt regulars, who, having grown to childhood under her tender care, has gone out into the world to seek his fortune. That would call for his small size, short legs, and small stature relative to his horns. You eagerly pull out your palm husk, happy for an excuse to pester your old friend. But you've got zero signal out here. You wonder if the surrounding vegetation eats palm husk symbols, just like it looks like it eats everything else. You disappointedly slip your palm husk back into your pocket. Honk. You apologize for the delay, explaining that you are surprised to find that you appear to have an acquaintance in common, who you hope you will have time to discuss later. For now, you are ready, willing, and hopefully able to help him down. Why is the reader gets suddenly more verbose in this one? And that's whack. You hope he won't be offended if you slip behind him first. It's not that you object to bladed weapons or those who stuff dozens of them in their belts, but you feel that the ones he's wearing could ruin your look if buried in your torso, however unintentionally. You edge past the weapons, being careful also to not touch the spring thorns growing at the edge of the path or their trigger roots. There he is! Once you're behind Karako, you grasp his horns firmly and pull, withdrawing them from the tree branch and allowing him to drop lightly to the ground. Honk! You tell him that he's very welcome. Then there's a moment of awkward silence as you try to think of something else to say. Fortunately, your new potential friend is not as devoid of social graces as you are, and gets the conversation ball rolling himself. Honk? You explain to him that you are indeed a stranger in these parts, and that you don't fit into any of the hemospectrum categories. Wild, right? Although not quite as strange as you used to be, you'd like to think. You really sort of blend in with the local color. Look, I want to pinch his cheeks. How old even is Karako? I have his page pulled up on my phone. So how old is he? How old are you, small boy? It doesn't say. He is merely a small boy. That is the Roomba. He simply cannot speak yet. So he honks. Sorry. I got distracted reading the rest of his wiki page. Anyway, small boy, even smaller than he may appear. Honk? Well. You'd rather not exhibit your blood just now? You're a couple quarts low due to the robust conditions of life on Alternia, some of which you have recently had the honor of encountering. Honk. You sympathize. Slinking along these hidden paths in the Alternian woods can be tough on the morale. The smell alone is enough to make strong men weep, and the vegetation looks like it was designed by the Marquis de Sade. Not that he knows who the Marquis de Sade is. I don't either. You can't help but feel that it would be so much better if only one had a skulk buddy, you continue. How wonderful it would be to travel these dusky lanes with a kindred spirit, a twin soul, a fellow traveler, an intimate crony. You're such an expert on friend synonyms by now. Have you been talking to Plain Boy? I was about to say Hack 2 spoiler, but I promised I wouldn't. Honk? No, you haven't met anyone like that either. But you would certainly like to. Your new potential friend is obviously thinking serious about this issue. So you back off. Give him some space. You pretend to be deeply immersed in studying one of the razor-sharp leaves on one of the writhing bushes beside the path. You aren't one to force yourself on others, or try to unduly influence their friendship decisions. Okay, well, maybe you forced yourself on others in the past and tried to influence their friendship decisions. Maybe you've even done this a lot, but you've recently evolved as a person. You now know that friendship is something that has to come authentically from within. Friendship is spontaneous. Real friendship sprouts naturally from the soil of mutual respect. I said mutual. I'm pretty sure. And also spoil. Soil of mutual respect is what that says. The best friendships grow and ripen over years and are not rushed or forced. Of course, you've only known this small person for about 5 minutes. You have to start ripening sometime. Sorry, my mouth got all... He's so small. Karako's gender is only clown. Honk honk. Clown time. You're reflecting thus on the theme of friendship when a loud pours suddenly from the sky above you. It's a crackling, sizzling sound, like a chitinous thing with too many legs struggling in a hot frying pan. No, boy! Karako jumps so violently that he nearly gets his horn stuck in the tree again. Looking up, you see a floating metal object, vaguely troll-shaped but huge, faceless, metal, and with numerous sets of lightning bolt-shaped horns coming out of its head and neck. It's also not a very sparkling conversationalist. It remarks in a flat, echoing blare. It elaborates further. Honk! Run, a drone! For the bad ending. You run in wild panic. It's a drone. Even the Alternian badasses you've hung out with have been terrified of the drones, because their only purpose is murder. Up close, it's one of the most terrifying things you've ever seen, and it's making noises which you didn't know they even did, and which probably means something sinister. Excuse me, I thought that was going to be a burp, but it wasn't. You race at top speed down the twisting path, focusing your senses to their breaking point to avoid trigger roots, razor leaves, and acid pots. At first you hear the pattering of small feet running behind you, but as you redouble your speed, the pattering falls back and after a while is lost in the distance. You spent for what seems a lifetime before you finally catch your foot on a trigger root and go flying through the air, barely missing being sliced into 100 pieces of tumbling ham by the barbed spring vine that lances across the path only inches behind you. You land in the dirt, wing knocked out of you, but otherwise unhurt. You lie there, catching your breath and waiting, but nothing happens. No enormous metal monster whizzes down the path to impale you. No small clown-faced individual overtakes you on his short legs. Finally, after nothing happens, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. You're alone on the path, and no sound of either friend or potential friend or foe can be heard. No birds sing, which is probably good. You imagine that any birds native to this forest would probably sing by croaking a putrid sludge, and that the sludge would be poisonous or radioactive. But leaving aside the character of the local fauna, what should you do? Keep down the path, putting more distance between yourself and the drone, or should you go back and see if Karako is okay? You waffle for a while and then decide to go back. You sneak back along the path. You sneak a long, long way. But however far you go, there are no signs of either Karako or the drone. You don't know whether the drone picked up Karako and took him away, or disemboweled him and not scattered the fragments, or whether Karako leapt into the undergrowth and hid or escaped, or what? One way or another, you're all alone again on this path through shit-smell forest. Game over, because we allowed the murder of a child again. He's like one of 4 trolls to die on their route, I think. I literally just read the trivia like a couple minutes ago, but you know how it is. I got memory eating worms. And so this one, I believe, has 2 good endings. Yeah, so it has 2 good endings. So I'm trying to decide which one I want to do first. I think we're gonna do the Dark Carnival first, and then end on the nice one, because the Dark Carnival one's kind of freaky. Which one do you think? Look at all these front. Okay, so you do get the achievement for the Dark Carnival ending, but we're gonna do that one first, and then go to the nicer one, because that one everybody lives, and I like that one more. So leap to your proto-friend's aid. You leap to your proto-friend's aid. Thinking quickly, you push Karako against a large rock that juts out of the undergrowth nearby and jump in front of him, shielding him from the drone with your body. You then pretend to be leaning against the rock in an attitude of tranquil repose. That one was actually a burp. Excuse me. I drank like an entire Pepsi for lunch today. So, several of the bladed weapons in Karako's belt poke you in the ass, but you don't let this show on your face. Instead, you yawn elaborately and check your wristwatch. You don't have a wristwatch, but you don't think drones know what a wristwatch is anyway. I have a watch. I don't like not knowing what time it is, because I have time blindness issues. So I pretty much, if I don't have my phone, even if I do have my phone on me, like right now I have my phone next to me and I have a clock. Actually, how many clocks are in this room? So counting my phone, just that I can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 clocks within easy sight, a 5th within kind of sight, and there are 2 more, is at least 1 more behind me. I don't have my watch on because I have that many clocks around me, but I do usually have a watch on. It has cherries on it. You pretend to smoke a non-existent cigarette. Again, you're not giving anything away, because drones don't know what cigarettes are either. But the drone has apparently taken an interest in you. It floats down between the trees and undergrowth and hovers above the path several meters from where you're pretending to relax against rock after a long day of hiking through scenic shit-smell forest. It's quite a terrifying sight, actually. The drone observes you soullessly, making Karako jump so that several of your internal organs are threatened. However, you maintain what you believe the local populace would call a stiff upper whistle pillow. That's bad. The drone's blank metal head studies you, or it could be studying something in the opposite direction, or even taking the drone equivalent of a piss. You can't really tell from its expression, because it has no features to make expressions with. The examination or non-examination continues for some time, and the entire time there's a small clown. Where did you even get all this Fago? I mean, I guess he's a purple blood, so you could probably just log up to a drone and be like, honk, and they bring him Fago. But your diminutive potential friend is well hidden from view, and after a while, evidently concluding that you are an inanimate object that makes unaccountable gestures with its wrists and fingers, the drone floats upward again, gaining speed until with a dreary it whistles off somewhere to find other hapless non-standard citizens to euthanize. Pinch his cheek. When it's gone, you stand away from the rock and rub several sore places that have been pierced by bladed weapons. You turn to Karako to comment on the recent fervor, but stop when you see the look he is directing at you. A warm and admiring look. Affectionate and esteeming look. A look of friendship. Your first impulse is to throw your arms around him and lean in, but on second thought, remembering his pants arsenal, you put out your hand for a warm handshake. Victory is so close. But before you can seal the deal on this sweet friendship transaction, you hear a disturbance further down the path. Oh, these fuckers! The fish sticks! I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to see them. Ooh, I just went dizzy for a second. Didn't get to see them? I know they're probably just saving it for like the rest of Hiveswap and some stuff for Haunt Switch. Don't think I forgot about Haunt Switch Homestuck team. But I want to see the fish sticks so that I can call them nerds and beat them up. God, can't the narrative chill for one single moment, especially a moment when you're about to consummate a beautiful friendship? You turn to look. The footsteps, several sets of them, get nearer, and around the bend come 3 figures. 3 figures wearing swimming outfits, lots of gold jewelry, and sunken expressions. 3 figures with gills on their necks and small, stylized fins on their face. Oh man, is it possible you finally happened upon a group of the legendary Sea Dwellers? Yes. And you're about to find out that they're all dicks. They stop short when they see you and Karako, obviously startled. They study you, you study them. Then thin-headed interloper 1, in a one-piece and diamond earrings, whispers to her companions, and all 3 burst out laughing. Thin-headed interloper 2, in a violet wetsuit and rings, slaps her thigh, and thin-headed interloper 3, in checkered swimming trunks, holds his sides. Part of you is relieved. Laughter drives out the devil, is the best medicine, and in any event is better than homicidal mania. On the other hand, this laughter isn't friendly. It's cold, mocking, and supercilious. These Sea Dwellers are obviously laughing at you, not with you. He's angry. He's gonna kill somebody. I just took the last of my Pepsi, which means I might have to pause in the middle of to go get water. You notice Karako's cheeks flushing purple under his face paint, and his jaws clenching. However, he just stares with stony dignity at the interlopers. This just makes them laugh harder. The first Sea Dweller says, "What are you two supposed to be?" "Shrimp Cassidy and the Squamous Kid," says her second companion. They all have the same voice. "A cold-bait minnow and his mutated soft-shell crab," says her third. "Looks like the minnow went down on the clown, causing it to spurt out the other one." Oh, God. Fucking, there's not even good insults. You have all the power in the world, and you can't even cause a good insult. Gross. The Sea Dweller's laughter is redoubled. You continue expressionless at these insults, but to your dismay, Karako's face is taking on a harsh, glowering look. You guess that such a tiny dude has probably been victimized by bullies his whole life. And, as you happen to know, there are no bullies like Alternian bullies. Honk. You tell him let them talk all the shit they want. Don't let them provoke him. They're trying to get him to do something stupid. If he doesn't react, he'll get bored and go away. The worst bullying advice, as given by almost every American high school, possibly ones in other countries as well. Honk! No, remember that drone? It's probably still around here somewhere. Touch a scale on their heads, and you could be rendered into mother grub feedstock. Do they feed the mother grubs? Like, not saying it would be good for that to be what's happening, but I would say it's pretty in line with Alternia as a concept. That was a burp. Excuse me. "He bottom feeders, no whispering when you're in the presence of your bathers. And you, little boy, put a respectful expression on your recognition surface. Be more like your friend Slender Manatee over there. In fact, why is it you're still... God, this is gonna kill me. Sea Dwellers, help. In fact, why is it you two are still perpendicular? In the presence of Sea Dwellers, you should be bowed at right anglers." The first Sea Dweller seems to have an affinity for cheesy ocean puns. You bow to the Sea Dwellers. You have your dignity You also like not getting killed. You pointy. Karako remains stubbornly upright, his face getting angrier and purpler by the moment. The bladed weapons in his belt jingle from his enraged trembling. Oh, see the little clownfish, he's getting angry. Looks like he's gonna shit his pants. What did they teach you about? Tell you what, your face, boy. Didn't your Lucis teach you anything? I don't even have a Lucis. A self-respecting Lucis would never let a shrimp like that out of the hive. Unless his Lucis is just as effective. They're all the same person. They don't distinguish which sea dweller is talking, so neither do I. Don't mind me, someone was texting me. The Lucis cracks are too much for Karako. Ignoring your hissed warning as he suddenly leaps snarling into the air, drawing bladed weapons from his belt in each hand and hurtles towards the sea dwellers. How do I speak moving text? Honk! Honk! We're going to leap into the fray and lend comfort and support. You leap into the fray to lend comfort and support. You would have counseled Karako to turn the other cheek and kept turning cheek after cheek until the sea dwellers got fed up and went away, but now that things have hotted up, you are not about to let down the side. Karako crashes into the sea dwellers, his bladed weapons whirling like a blender. You scamper close behind him and kick someone in the shin. It hurts your foot, but doesn't seem to have any other effect. The sea dwellers are bony fish. And I mean that as an insult. These sea dwellers are made of tough stuff. Or you're extremely flimsy. Science have recently pointed to the latter. Your next sortie is more effective, however. Thinking quickly, you pick up a rock and throw it at the trigger root of a spring thorn growing along the path next to where the violet bloods are enduring Hurricane Clown. The coiled stalk springs out, impaling the dude with a 12-foot-long thorns. He's thrown off balance, and violet blood begins to flow copiously down his body. That's a hue you haven't seen before. Kind of pretty. But these sea dwellers are made of tough stuff. He yanks the spring thorn stalk away from him, pulling the thorns out, and flings it into the woods. Then he takes out a pocket handkerchief and starts patting his injuries gently. Meanwhile, Karako's blade weapons have not been idle, and the two sea dwellers are likewise leaking violet blood. I keep always reading it as violent, which I guess is also accurate, but oh god, there's so much blood. These bastards are hard to kill. You remember Palipa telling you that. As you watch, one of them grabs one of the bladed weapons from Karako's hand and buries it in Karako's stomach. This, unsurprisingly, is distracting for a poor little clown, allowing two of the finny sons of bitches to grab handfuls of bladed weapons from his belt and bury them in various parts of his body. You dance around delivering harmless kicks and curses. They're killing him. This is why I don't like this ending as much. Karako is still waving his weapons, but he seems to be waving them more slowly now. Then, as more and more bladed weapons are buried in his body, he seems to lose focus. The weapons he's been brandishing fall from his hands. Finally, he falls to the ground in the center of a spreading pool of purple blood, twitches feebly for a minute, and then is still. You stare at disbelief at the corpse of one who, if he had just been shared a short while longer, would have been your friend. One despised and rejected. A clown of suffering, familiar with pain. They had flogged him and mocked him and spit on him and then killed him. You struggle to come to terms with this. While you're doing that, one of the remaining sea dwellers grabs you by the hair and suplexes you onto the ground. Your head snaps back and pain explodes behind your eyes. You are left lying on your back and trying to stay conscious, which is why you have a good view of what happens next. Father! In the dark sky above you, something opens. Something even darker than the sky. A hole, like a cave in the clouds. and we go to the carnival. It widens until you can see that in the cave a carousel with wooden horses mounted on brass posts rotates, the horses plunging up and down in time with carnival music played by a mechanical organ. Riding the horses are naked store window mannequins, their legs slung awkwardly over the horses' backs, their stiff arms down by their sides in whatever pose they were created, their horns huge and wildly shaped. I have a thought, I'll share in a minute. In the darkness above the carousel, other naked mannequins with plastic wings tied to their backs are supported on wires, and above these in turn are a net of white Christmas tree lights twinkle white Christmas tree lights twinkle against the roof of the dark cave or circus tent or whatever this is, throwing their dim starlight illumination down on the rotating carousel. As you watch, two of the winged mannequins break loose from their wires and fly down from that dark region into the night sky in the dimension Alternia occupies. They maneuver until the stiff hands on the ends of their stiff arms are underneath Karako, and then they lift him up into the sky and into the dark carnival. You hear one last faint, reviving honk as they set him on one of the wooden horses, and then the hole in the sky closes, and there is nothing but the night sky above you. All is silent and still again. An odd feeling comes over you. You don't think you've ever felt such a feeling, just the reality of how utterly insignificant you are. Sure, you've spent the last few months wandering with no desire, with a desire for connection, and you are, in a way, a being unique to this galaxy. But honestly, what does that even mean? You glance in and out of people's lives. They're 1 minute, gone the next, always moving from friend to friend. They are, for all intents and purposes, a virtual non-entity, a bland point-of-view vector, a neutral second-person narrator barely coming into the picture, a retiring entity expressing only a simple, one-dimensional desire for friendship. But just about now, you feel that things have gone pretty far, and just about now, you feel that you've had about enough of arrogant highbloods. Enough, in fact, of shortwave hemotypes carelessly and without compunction killing and maiming and exploiting those of longer wavelengths, of a survival of the fittest regime that seems to come down to the survival of the most violent psychopaths. Is this a moral universe, or is it not? You ask yourself. Are repulsive and cruelty and sickening evil punished in this universe, or are they not? Does an ethical force operate in this universe? Or does it not? You don't know the answer to these questions, but you do know one thing. You intend to depart for once from your one-dimensional persona. You intend to punish repulsive cruelty and sickening evil if it comes within your ability to do so. You intend to create an ethical force field in your local region. You intend to exert some moral gravity right around where you are if you possibly can. And you realize that this odd feeling you are having seems to be drawing moral Higgs bosons out of the moral ground state, right out of the fabric of this multicolored blood-soaked planet that heaves under your feet. You take on the aspect of Clown Sarker. Seizing 2 cans of inexpensive soft drink from where they fell from Karako's bandoliers, you shake them and pull the pins. Then, with malice aforethought, you direct the twin streams at the sea dwellers. You smell banana and strawberry as the deadly streams play upon them. Already weakened, they fall back with cries under the withering onslaught. As soon as the streams slacken, you take up 2 more cans, shake them, and deal out death to the unrighteous. You smell peach and diet root beer this time, but no pity softens your heart. You wouldn't care even if it were pineapple watermelon you are spraying on these brutes. But these fin heads are made of tough stuff. Rallying even in the face of this intense onslaught, they push forward and, seizing some bladed weapons from the purple blood pool, advance upon you. Not one step back, you vow to the memory of Karako Period. You stand your ground in desperation, grabbing some cans of diet tonic water and club soda and opening up your batteries once again. but to no avail. A trident pierces you to the bone, followed by a scimitar, a tomahawk, a short spear, and so many other bladed weapons that the sheer weight of them drives you to the ground, where your red, precious blood flows in moderate streams, mixing with the purple blood of your proto-friend. This is the end, you realize. You're glad you died in righteous battle. You're glad you created even the tiny, sputtering, temporary moral force field in your local region that you did. You can feel your life and narrative point of view slipping away. You are content. Yet, what's that you see above you now? A dark space has opened up even darker than the night sky, and two stiff-looking winged figures are descending. They land next to you and gently place their stiff hands under you. Then they ascend once again, lifting you higher and higher into the darker space. As you pass the boundary of the heavenly carnival, your life seems to revive within you, and as the fabric of the place closes around you and the two stiff mannequins place you on a carousel horse next to Karako, you realize that planets, universes, dimensions, realities, powers, principalities, and cosmos come and go. But friendship is forever. Shh. Friendship. It's friendship time. Very quiet friendship time. I forgot about that part. I remembered Karako dying and you avenging him, but I forgot about the big dramatic speech. Anyway, I thought I had to lighten up a little before we go to the nice ending where everybody lives. I was thinking about it, and I was looking at the... Actually, we can scroll back a second. Looking at the horns on the mannequins. I have to wonder if that's how mannequins actually look, because I was thinking about it. And so I work with mannequins. I work at a store, hence why I have to go to Black Friday in less than 2 hours now. But because mannequins, you pull, at least the mannequins where I work, we'll start there. The mannequins where I work come apart into a couple pieces. You could usually pull off their arms, and then you can pull the torso off the legs. And I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if you could pull the arms off a troll mannequin and then take off the horns. I was wondering, yeah, because if you take off the horns, you can, change them out depending on, whether it's a low blood store or a high blood store. Sorry, I just noticed something on my phone. You could change up the horn style, and you could also put in like those big curly horns and use them to hang stuff on, whether they be horn jewelry or like accessories, or maybe some scars or whatever. And I think that'd be neat. That's all I had to say right now. There's another thing I'm going to mention, but I'll do it at the end. Because now, we're going to grab him by the coattails and try to keep him from precipitating a disaster. You leap forward and grab Karako by the coattails, or by his belt. You're not actually sure what a coattail is? Jesus, he's strong. You can barely hold him. It's like trying to restrain a small truck. His legs rotate wildly, kicking up a cloud of dust, and he brandishes his baited weapons wildly in the direction of the sea dwellers. After a startled moment in which they jump backward, the sea dwellers have started to laugh again, coming up with more stupid insults and fish puns. Because of course there's more fish puns. This is not helping. Karako runs twice as hard, honks twice as loud, shakes his weapons twice as threateningly. Is he a hero of rage? We're going to check that real quick, sorry. He's a hero of mind. Sign of the unwavering. Hey, you shout at Karako, trying to be heard above the fracas, holding on with all your might and digging in your heels. You've half a mind to just let him go to pay the sea dwellers back for their insults. You try to keep a cool head. You're doing your proto-friend much more good at trying to restrain his wrath. You now succeeded in wrapping your arms all the way around him, and you get in front of him, holding him back with straight arms, bellowing soothingly into his face and trying to avoid the bladed weapons he is brandishing. He's like a weed whacker. Like trying to hug a weed whacker. At least, actually, I don't know. Weed whackers are different. Are like like a lawnmower. Weed whackers are usually just like a string. But it's not working. You can see from the contorted features, the bared teeth, the distended nostrils, with smoke coming out the blazing eyes, that Karako is getting more and more enraged. Suddenly his rage seems to reach a kindling point. His body vibrates violently, his eyes grow huge and round. And suddenly from his body, something like a nuclear blast, pressure wave of fear and violence, sends you flying through the air like a scrap paper in a gale. What the fuck? Are you hallucinating? Why can he do that? Who put that much rage in that small of a clown? Could Gamzee do that? I don't like thinking about Gamzee, never mind. But you can see as you soar above the path that the sea dwellers aren't laughing anymore. In fact, they're screaming in terror and fleeing wildly, blundering into razor leaves, being impaled by spring thorns and burned by pod acid, and generally receiving the stern retribution that awaits assholes. Then your head collides with a tree branch, and you are rendered unable to narrate for a while. You wake up lying in the dust. As consciousness returns, you realize that you're lying on the path, and as it returns further, that a small clown-painted figure is seated next to you, quite calm now. He smiles fondly as he sees you sit up. Me too. Look at him. Just, woo, let's go. Honk! You smile in return. You express relief that he realizes you were acting in his best interests, holding him back from the finheads. And now, though largely because of his unexpected burst of clown sorcery, or whatever that was, everything has turned out for the best. Karako holds up his arms for a hug, but then remembering the bladed weapons in his belt, sticks out his hand. You shake it warmly. Yay! The incredibly small clown makes friends with the marshmallow person. And I know I try to end on like the good endings you get an achievement for. And I know based on what happens in Pesterquest that most likely he did ascend to the Dark Carnival, but very small. But it's, you know, this whole game is, by nature of being a game, is all playing pretend. So, you can play pretend for a little bit longer, right? Anyway, so that is the end of that episode. That was a good one. Lots of good dramatic monologuing. Don't know if there was as many jokes. But I think, I don't know. I think I've also arrived at some sort of conclusion about life and friendship. I don't know. I just feel like weirdly calm all of a sudden. So that's weird. Yeah. Oh, and the idea I had, I don't know when or if I'm going to implement this. Oh, it's true, next in Wachi. But I actually have been playing Stardew Valley again recently. Don't worry about why I stopped for a little while. So I don't know if I'm going to continue the Zonecast Valley series until I'm done with Pesterquest. We'll see. I might end up making some formatting changes to that one, so that will actually take a little while to kind of reformulate. But I may, at some point, start so my current farm is actually jade. And depending on whether or not I go through with the idea I have, you may actually see some stuff about that in the future. But I was considering starting a farm under a different Homestuck character name and streaming it. You know, maybe play a couple days at a time just to have fun, do something calm. I don't know if I'd have Mike on or not, and if I did have Mike, it might be slightly inconsistent. Her about to come up on like winter break stuff. I'll wait to make any decisions on that until this episode comes out. So if you have any feedback on the idea of streaming some Stardew Valley, feel free to let me know. if you're listening to this far in the future, you'll know whether or not I made that decision. So yeah, next time is Tarun and Wanshi will be next week. I wish you all a good day. Bye.